looking ahead to Sunday, who are favourites? League leaders Liverpool or 10th place Chelsea for you?
I know Jurgen Klopp seemed to suggest that it's a 50-50 game, in which case he would be giving betting advice to the general public that everyone should bet on Chelsea if it's actually a 50-50 game. But obviously Liverpool are the favorites. The injury issues are huge for Liverpool, but a bunch of players were injured the last time these two teams played. Obviously, that game was at Anfield, but it was completely dominant performance by Liverpool. So I think Liverpool are obviously the clear favorites, as we could have just realized from looking at the table.
Okay, Janusz, it's Sunday morning ahead of the Cup final, and you've got Mohamed Salah, you've got Darwin Nunez, and maybe Szoboszlai as well. And they're all, I could maybe play here, but it'd be a bit of a risk should you take an injection or something like that. Do you prioritize the Cup final on Sunday morning and the risk it would be, if it would be, to play one or all three of those players? Or do you leave it up to the player and hope that they make the right decision? What are you doing here, especially with Mo Salah?
Yeah, I don't think you're leaving it to the player. I mean, that speculation is absolutely crazy. I mean, it's a cup final. It's a chance to win a trophy. So I'm sure if Salah is available, he is going to play. I mean, he doesn't have to do that. We saw against Luton, even though the first half wasn't good. I mean, look, you have an extraordinary manager with players that are willing and capable of doing just about anything for him, right? To make sure that he leaves the right way. And it doesn't always happen that way. But I just think we saw, I think it was with Arendo and many players coming out. I think it doesn't matter who comes out there. I think Liverpool are going to be favorites. I think they're going to be favorites for a number of reasons. I mean, being Wembley, I think, I didn't look player by player, but I think there's a little bit of an experience factor in that in that way. That big pitch, I think, is going to serve Liverpool better. It almost doesn't matter. I think at this stage, if Jurgen Klopp and you saw the reaction of your team without so many players in the second half at home against Luton, right? And improved Luton, by the way, not an easy one to play, which we've seen. I think you're saying to yourself that I could even take a risk and bring some of the big players off the bench. This is how much I trust all these players, and this is how much they'll do it for him. So even with Chelsea looking much better, obviously a very good performance against Manchester City, my goodness, they're up against it.
So, Chelsea unbeaten in 3, James, including that draw at City, as Janusz mentioned. Good wins as well in the FA Cup at Aston Villa and against Crystal Palace. But before that, losing at home to Wolves. Which Chelsea do you think you'll see when you go to Wembley for ESPN on Sunday?
Well, I have to say, listening to Pochettino speak today, it was a definite change of tone. He was quite positive, much more positive, almost bullish about his team's chances. He seems to think that they've turned a little bit of a corner, and there's sort of little examples that he's kind of giving, like when Disasi's celebrating a block or a piece of defending. He's sort of suggesting this is an example of, do you see that? Did you see that earlier in the season? Do you see these moments where there's signs of the team starting to come together, of a real genuine team spirit? It feels a little early to be saying that. It's not that long ago when they were losing heavily to Liverpool and then getting beaten badly at home by Wolves, and we were thinking, well, hang on a minute, is Pochettino even going to see out the season here? So, they've put 3 good performances together, most obviously and perhaps impressively, although nobody wins easily at Villa these days, but that draw at Manchester City. And there was a sense of momentum starting to build. And the injury picture, in contrast to Liverpool, it is just starting to settle down a bit. And I think there is perhaps now a chance of Pochettino to actually even train with his first choice 11, which I'm not sure he's really had the opportunity to do until now, let alone pick them and actually play them all together at the same time. So I was surprised. He was a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more confident than maybe I thought. And I think he feels it's going to be a completely different game to the game at Anfield. He seems to think that, even though it's 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks since that game, he seems to feel that the progress that his team have made in that time, in terms of being able to come together and fight as a unit, and the phrase he kept using today was sort of learning how to compete. He seems to feel that they've trying to establish a base level of consistency in their ability to fight in matches that ensures that the kind of insipid displays that we saw at Liverpool and then at home to Wolves are a thing of the past. But 3 games, since then is a bit of progress, but it feels a little premature, I think, to be wholly confident that Chelsea are going to turn up full sail and really take it to Liverpool.
Ryan, the closest Mauricio Pochettino has come to winning silverware in England was against Chelsea when he was Spurs manager in 2015 in the League Cup final. He lost that one narrowly. As James and Janusz have alluded to, and you as well, it's less than a month since they were thumped 4-1 at Anfield. So how does all that turn around? How does Pochettino get his first English trophy against Liverpool less than a month after losing 4-1 at Anfield?
I mean, I think we saw it against City in a lot of ways. And you look at Chelsea's aggregate performance; they're kind of a heavy possession team. They try to play a lot of through balls, a lot of cutbacks. That hasn't really led to much, as you said, that they're in 10th. Against City, they looked really good at times, sitting deeper and countering. So you would think against Liverpool, it's going to be the same thing, right? Everyone Liverpool plays, other than maybe City and Arsenal, they try to pin them in the final third, press, and keep the ball there. So you'd think that there should be some opportunities for Chelsea to hit Liverpool on the counter like they did with City. It's just, I'm a little skeptical that the City game was really any kind of progress. I know that they got a draw. They give up 31 shots, which good teams don't concede 31 shots, no matter how effective the opponent that they're playing against is. So honestly, I think if they play the same way they played against City, if Liverpool have 31 shots in this game, I don't think it's going to end well for Chelsea. But I think the blueprint for Chelsea is the first half, I would say, against Manchester City.
It's funny when you look a bit deeper into a game, you see a scoreline 1-1, but Erling Haaland could easily have had a hat-trick. Some of the ones that he missed were incomprehensible, and that could have been the same scoreline as when Chelsea went to Anfield. Janusz, if Mohamed Salah starts, do you still try and find a place in the starting 11 for Harvey Elliott?
No, no, he's going to come off the bench. No, I mean, no chance. I mean, the midfield, I think, picks itself the way we know it with Endo, McAllister, and Gravenberch, who's outstanding. Look, and you guys alluded to it. I mean, remember, for me, that's important as a player, the big pitch, right? I mean, and Ryan is right, the amount of shots. And remember in that game, it was 1-1. I thought the substitutions in the second half were poor with Palmer and Sterling leaving the pitch. And, I mentioned after that game that if the game was 5 minutes longer, City would have won the game anyway, right? I mean, here, if it's 1-1, we're going to go to extra time. And the pressing of Liverpool, I don't know if Chelsea can compete with that for a long period of time. So unless they go ahead and well ahead and catch Liverpool off guard, I just think that keeping up with this team, who not only gets better in the second half, but gets better towards the end of the game, and energy-wise, I think experience-wise, is still ahead of Chelsea. That is an issue for me because transitionally, Chelsea are still poor. And in that game, you could see it. Yes, they caught Manchester City on the counter. They played very, very wide, which I expected they're going to do the same against Liverpool. And Liverpool will give them those opportunities, not just because of the high line, but because of the commitment there. But I just don't know if this Chelsea team has shown me that they can sustain that for 90 minutes and plus. And that is what it's going to take, regardless of what Liverpool team takes the pitch. And if it's, say, Darwin Núñez and Salah coming off the bench at some point in the second half, that's even worse for Chelsea. Big steps, Ryan, and we'll talk about Chelsea a little bit later, but, far from finished product, although things are looking good. And this is, I don't think this is going to be the game we saw at Anfield between these two teams just a couple of weeks ago.
James, you don't have to go back too far to find goalkeeping substitutions before penalty shootouts. I don't think that'll happen this time, but goalkeepers for Chelsea are still on vogue right now. Did Pochettino give anything away when you spoke to him earlier about whether or not it's going to be Petrovic or Sanchez between the pipes?
No, he said that 99% knows his team, but he hasn't told the players, so he's not going to tell us first. So we didn't really get too much info on that front. I mean, from speaking to other people, I don't think Robert Sanchez is going to be ready to start the game. I think it probably will be Petrovic, and that just exacerbates, not that I don't think he's a fairly solid goalkeeper, but that does exacerbate your concerns about them defensively, really, because Thiago Silva's touch and go. They're giving him a chance to recover from a groin injury, but I think that's very much 50-50. And it sounds like even if he does play, it would be something of a gamble. Obviously, if he's not there, when you've already not got Reece James, Fofana, obviously a long-term injury, Badiashile, Cucurella, they're weak at the back. And you do look at that Liverpool forward line with Salah back, and presuming that he starts, and I'm pretty sure he will. And it's difficult to see them being able to keep Liverpool out. Then you think about, as the guys have said, they gave up a lot of chances against City, although Nunez is making something of a habit of missing quite a lot of chances, you just sort of can't really see them getting away with just conceding the one goal if they're that porous at the back again. So, yeah, we don't know exactly how they're going to approach it, but I think Klopp is playing, as Pochettino says, a bit of a clever game in trying to play it down. But I mean, Liverpool, I think, are very strong favourites going into this. You'd expect. I think where Pochettino's coming from is he's trying to say that there's a basic level of commitment and desire and hunger to want to do well. Now, that is pretty entry level for an elite level football team, let's be honest. But Chelsea have fallen quite short of that. So I think he feels that there's some progress in terms of their application, but are they just on a individual level and as a collective team performance capable of shutting Liverpool out for 90 minutes and winning the game? Well, theoretically, yes, but you feel like they're up against it at Wembley.
Before we let you go, what's your prediction for Sunday, James?
Well, having said what I've just said, I'll go for a Chelsea win. No, I won't. I think Liverpool will win it, and I don't think they'll roll them over. But it's difficult. It's difficult to see Chelsea. I think if they take it to extra time, they've done well. So I think I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool.
Okay, Janusz?
Yeah, I just think, again, that story with Klopp is very important. It would have been the same if he was staying on. He has an exceptional way of getting so much out of every player over the years. It's incredible. I can't think of another manager other than Pep that's capable of doing that. Poch is not at that level just yet. We were impatient with Chelsea. That's why I want to give him credit. They were an easy target to some degree, and we've been waiting for them to turn that a little bit of a corner. But I just think that Liverpool are way too much for Chelsea at this stage.
Okay, Ryan?
Yeah, if Nunez and Salah don't play, that's their three best goal scorers not playing. So it might be a little bit of an issue turning those chances into goals, or it might be a little bit of a struggle. But yeah, I'm with James. I think 2-1 sounds right to me.
Okay, thank you to James. We'll stick with Janusz and Ryan. But a reminder, if you're in the United States, you can watch the Carabao Cup final on Sunday exclusively on ESPN+. Kickoff at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. out west. And the pre-game show from ESPN FC begins at 9 Eastern.